We are also doing this demonstration tomorrow as well. So if you want to catch us again tomorrow, we'll do a similar demonstration. Or if you want to, after seeing today, invite others to come along for the journey, we're happy to do that as well. And as Kiara said, we'll record this and share it as well. Awesome. All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? My name is David Kitchen. If we can hear and see okay. If you can't, just let me know through chat or whatnot. Um, yeah, my name is David Kitchen. I'm with TechNet, also uh, affectionately known as Comp Survey System, Compensation Survey System. And we are so excited to meet with you, Association of Idaho Cities. Um, a little bit about me. I'm a public manager, HR manager in the public sector. I work for a city in Utah. I've been here 13 years, but about 15 years in the public sector HR space, and I love it. So I am sitting on the board of a couple of the, associations as well for public sector HR, both at the state and region level. And I love providing tools and resources and information and knowledge to this great profession and all of the great practitioners that we have. And so one of those tools is this compensation survey system. I'll tell you a little bit about it and show you, we're gonna have a live demonstration today with real data. I'm gonna show you the power that it can do. And so I'm gonna go right along. Um, so why use this system? Why are we partnering with AIC? And really, we know in this space, the whole goal for HR is to attract and retain quality employees, right? Can't do these jobs ourselves, and so we need people to help us out. And the way the market is now, is we have to be on our toes and kind of know the environment as much as possible. And it changes so quickly too. It's pretty dynamic. And so information is power, right? I feel like I need the shooting star across the sky. Knowledge is power. The more you know. Um, but this system can provide actual wage data, both by position, by agency, by departments, both actual data for incumbents and range data by positions, and an unlimited number of ways to slice the data. So you get to determine the filter that you want. We also have similar information for benefits and pay practices. So premiums, coverages, deductibles, allowances such as a travel allowance or technology allowance, pay practices such as overtime, on call, anything that affects compensation, we have a space for that. Also leave accruals. So what your agency is giving in types of leave or amounts of leave. And then we compute a total compensation value of what total value is that to the employees, and they can take that to compare, or your HR department can compare. So this system is, it's an online database for public sector agencies. It's created by and created for public sector agencies. I don't know if you've noticed, but the sources out there, there's some federal sources, there's some salary data services. They're all great, but what I found was lacking was specific data for public sector, specifically local government agencies. Most of the survey companies focus on general business practices, and that's great. But as far as getting the details for public sector benchmarks, jobs, public works, library, recreation, there just wasn't a great database, and it was aggregated, so it was a year old or more. And so compensation survey system is live data that will show you. You can see which agency it's from. We don't have private information, so we don't have employees' names or anything like that, or anything as far as would identify employees, but we do have which title they're in, um, and their years of service if that's given by the employers. It is a 24/7 available database. And like I said, we have over 900 public sector benchmarks or different job titles that you can compare to. Not all agencies compare to all 900 of those, but we have a wide variety. So whether you're a uh, public power utility, or you have a broadband service, or if you have Parks and Rec or library, we have county data as well. So assessment, clerks, auditors, those kind of positions. Um, so many public works and utilities, um, just a lot of stuff, and I'll show you a good sampling of that. We can group by benchmark and by entity, so creating unlimited filters. And we have online and exportable reports, meaning you can look at it online in the system, or you can export the data to Excel and run additional analysis as you see fit. Who we are, we have 25 years of experience, and I believe one of our founders, AIC, was one of the original partners. That partnership paused for a little bit, but we're excited to bring it back. And as I said, we're entirely public sector focused. All of our owners and our technology partner currently work in the public sector and have always worked in the public sector. So we're very well familiar with your challenges. We also have current partnerships with other leagues and associations across the country, including Colorado Municipal League, the Mid-America Regional Council in Kansas City, the Public Sector HR Association in Utah, which covers pretty much the whole state, and now the Association of Idaho Cities. So we're pretty excited for that. And there's collective power within those associations, right? The more data we have, the stronger it is for everybody. Okay, so this is a sampling of the different benchmarks by job categories or functional categories. As you can see, we have quite a bit of them. And we're responsive as well. So if there's not a job in our database that you want to compare to, we can write a sample job description and add that to it, and we can start a new job and have you populate that data into the system. So it's pretty wide and accessible. The question of what size of entity usually uses your data. And so I ran a report based on, okay, the size of community population. So we have the ability to track, what size of community you're serving. We could also run a report based on how many FTEs you have. It's going to be similar, meaning we have a wide variety of small towns, big towns, everything in between. And really the beauty is once everybody gets involved, then you have everybody's information in a very easy to use format. And so we can go small, such as Burley, we can go big like Boise. And all that information is helpful. In the state of Utah, we're one of our biggest client bases. We have small towns that have less than 500, but we also have like Metro Center, Salt Lake City, that has its own airport. We also have water districts or special service districts that subscribe, so they are very focused into utility work or economic development or such things like that. And so we have a lot of different groups using that data, and that really is the flywheel, meaning once everybody participates, or as the more data we get in, more people are going to want to join as well. And so we're happy to do that. To us, data integrity is key. Garbage in, garbage out, right? The data is only as good as it is. And so that is key to us, that we provide an easy way to do regular updates for wage and benefit information. So we have several different ways to do that, and I can show some of these. I'm not going to get into all of this, but what I want to portray is there are different ways depending on whether you're doing all your benchmarks at once, or if you just have a few benchmarks. As a user myself, I was a user of the system for 10 years before I became a partner. And so my whole focus is, as a user, I want to make the focus on not spending time entering data or pulling data out, but I want to give you time so you can actually analyze the data or do your reports based on what the information is. That's where the real value is. And so we have ways that a simple COLA across the board adjustments, you just email our support team and we can do it really quick. Or we have templates that you can compile your own reports and send that over to us, and then we'll update it in the system. Or if you are, if just have a new job, we can edit one job at a time pretty easily as well. But you're in control of how often you update your data. Some smaller agencies that only have adjustments once a year, that's adequate. Other agencies that like to do it quarterly or semi-annually, that works too. But the key is let's maintain that data as pure and unmodified as we can. And then we also have tools like we can copy and paste information across benefit categories, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. But basically, we allow different options, but we really do have tools that make it easy as possible for the users. And so our pricing, we're very transparent about this. So it's based on your full-time equivalent employee count. It is a 12-month subscription. It's 24/7 access, unlimited system and technical support during business hours, Monday through Friday. And the pricing is there on the right, that under 30 employees, the cost is $200 per year. That's $200 total, not per user. So it's a great value. And I'm curious, what are your cities spending on salary surveys or salary access? My guess, unless you're just relying on federal free data, you're probably spending more than this per access to a system report or a survey report. And we're really trying to supplement that by giving you access for a much more affordable rate built for the public sector. And so we're yeah, we'll present that information. So let's go into the system. Before I do that, I always like to pause, and if there are any questions, pay attention to the chat, or if you want to take yourself off mute and answer or ask a question. Any questions up until this point? Okay, let me log in real quick. And I'm actually going to, we have preloaded information from Idaho Falls. So let me get that information really quick. And so this information would be just like a normal user would access. Okay. Oh, hold on. Let me try again. Okay. Let me go back to sharing the screen so everybody can see. Okay, so this is our web platform. This is just after logging in. You can see we have menus across the top. We also have a message board. So if you want to, if the system has an upgrade or something, we will post it here. We can also have what we call leagues, where we could create a league for the Association of Idaho Cities, where we have just messages to just your group. We also have training videos. So these are videos that we post for updating your data, updating your entity profile, instructions or tips and tricks that we feel that you can do, and that new users can also watch these videos. You get to listen to yours truly explain some things and explain the system, but we can also do live training with you one-on-one or with all of your employees in your office. And then we also have some formats here, but basically this is organized. We do have the ability, well, I'll just jump in. So we're going to look at your account. And so you can see your profile, you log in your information as a user. You can also kind of show that which other users from your entity, your address, your contact information, the demographics about your agency. And this will come in super helpful as you're trying to find your market comparables. What are other cities that you normally compare to? Maybe you know those cities already, but maybe you want to find another similar size agency, a similar budget or similar FTEs or population. And so by inputting this information, it really helps everybody out. You can also store links for job descriptions, policies, or pay plans. And we can also see when it was last updated. Updating is key. So, so this basic information, we can also tie in private entities. So if you're subscribing to other surveys and you want to include that survey data into this survey data, we can create what are called private entities so that only your users can have that information. We're not sharing that information across the system, but you can include that information in your reports, which can be super helpful. And so that would tie back to my entities. You can log in under, you know, a Mercer survey or Willistown Watson or whatever it is, or ONET or something. You can have that information in your system profile as well. The data entry side, this is where most of the data exists. So we have salary data. I'm going to go there first. And so you can search for any of our jobs within the system, and you can match just your jobs or any of the jobs. And you can search by job title. You can you can sort by job title, assign system ID, the range, the max, the actual. So if we include, Let's search for an attorney position. You can use wildcards, but you can see just for an attorney, we have all these different positions. But you see here that Idaho Falls only is reporting on these top 3 benchmarks. And you can see what their range data is and their actual data. So this is just for Idaho Falls. You can see where you're at. But you can also click on any of these and you can edit the information, and there's a brief job description for that benchmark. And this is very, very useful if you're looking to compare like jobs or similar jobs as much as possible, what to compare to. But going into the actual data, we have error validation tools so that the system looks for things like, oh, your pay is above your range. Does that make sense? It's not a hard stop. Our system does allow for override, but it's just a prompt for you to pay attention to what are generally good practices. Then you have different data tabs across the top. There's information for general, and these are not wage numbers, but these are characteristics of that job. So when did you last update it? What's your preferred title? Who it reports to? Is it represented by a union or collective bargaining unit? Is it FLSA exempt? Do you have pay for performance? Do you have a grade or step in grade? How many people are they responsible for? Who are the direct reports? All this information that helps people compare to those jobs, okay? But you also get into, this is the wage data for ranges. This is stored in hourly amounts. You can put in their range construct, so the minimum and the maximum, and then this is aggregated for the actual incumbents in that position. So for this one, it looks like there's only one incumbent, so there's only one person in this position. So we see that the low, the high, the average, and median are all the same. That's to be expected. But if you had multiple positions like a police officer or a building inspector, then these numbers we would expect to be different because of their different actual pay numbers. However, the ranges would be the same. We can store information about full-time, part-time, temporary or seasonal positions, and then we have a tab to describe the benefits for each position. And as I mentioned earlier, we have 8 different categories of benefits where we can record police and sheriff maybe get different retirement benefits than your general employees. Or if your management get additional benefits, you can record that. And you can assign this category of benefit to this benchmark as an assistant. On all these pages, you can fill in additional explanations or descriptions. We also have a help page or help tab. Some of these we're still filling in as we've redone the system just late last year, but this would be a prompt or something to help you fill out or navigate this page. So after filling out this information, you would click save, and then that updates that information. You see that the updated date changes to today's. I just clicked on that one. And so you have all of your positions. If you just want to look at all of your jobs, let's clear out the search bar and change this to just my matches. You can see that these are all the jobs that Idaho Falls has already entered their data in. So they have quite a few, okay? And so these are just titles, our system titles, our system job numbers that we've assigned to that job, or what we call a benchmark, okay?
Can I just
So that's the salary data.
Is it okay if I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
So what we're looking at is just Idaho Falls, but how would you look at like a comparable city?
Yeah, we'll get there. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to talk about how to input the data, how easy it is, and then we'll talk about how to run reports and how easy that is. Great. Love that question. We also have separate data sections for elected officials. So you can do mayor, city council, board of a planning board or planning commission, and all you do is add an official, and then we have several to choose from, and then you would enter their information in. So state, county, local government position. Okay. We also have a section to record allowances and practices. So what we call allowances have a dollar amount tied to it, and a practice is a policy. So you see here, the Idaho Falls has a mileage reimbursement of 55 cents. And then there's a description, and you can see when you updated that, and you can share that, and we can run reports on this later, okay? And we have a whole bunch of these. You can choose from any of these. So COLA adjustments, daycare, education assistance, health, holiday premium pay, the list goes on and on. So once you get once you're a subscriber, you can go in, and it may take a little bit of time to initially set these up, but usually these pay practice or allowances don't change as often as wage data. And so just have someone on your team just go in there and kind of record your policies, so you can compare and contrast. Okay. As far as benefits go, we have several different types of benefits you can record on. So you can record your health, HSA contributions, dental, vision, life insurance, short-term and long-term disability, retirement, or additional pension system if you have one, cafeteria or flex. This TCV summary screen is what I talked about, that total compensation value. So we can combine a dollar or a fixed amount plus a variable rate of a percentage. And then we can use that in reports to show, okay, the total compensation package that we're paying our employees, what is that worth? So you may have employees, well, maybe you never have employees come to you and say, well, how does this job compare to the private sector, right? And they bring a dollar value to it. I can make so many dollars more. These statements are here so that it shows really the city, your organization is paying more than wages, a lot more than wages for insurance. And those things are worth it, right? So you kind of give them a total rewards package number based on some of these things. And then you have leave accruals. We also have this copy benefit. So you can copy any of these pages and say, let's copy from the general category to any of these other categories. I'm not going to do it on the Idaho Falls account because I'm not going to mess them up. But you can have different leave accruals for police and sheriff than your general employees. So having different categories allows you different options to do that, right? So you can record all of this. So I'm not going to go too much more into benefits, but just to give you an idea there. You can also record services offered by your entity. So if you have an airport, record that you have an airport because you probably want to compare to other airport cities. And so you have different services and different services that you're providing. Okay. So that's kind of the data entry. So you're storing all this information. This was built out because back in the day, 20 years ago, we were collecting this information by paper copy or sometimes an email. And we're like, okay, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And so we created an online repository to do that. But I love to show off the reports. Before we actually get into the reports, we're going to talk about these groupings. So these groupings are basically your established filters, either based on the allowance or practice, based on the benchmarks, or based on entities. So allowance groups, if you can create like an education assistance group, and then you can add any of these allowances or practices that you want to add to that group. Maybe education assistance or tuition assistance is a hot topic for your council or your commission. And so you can run these reports based on these groupings and then take that information to them and report back on it. So you just click any of these, you scroll down the bottom and click save. Click save, and then it would add to that group. This little tab here is just kind of a description that you've put in there. Okay, let's get to the benchmark groups. So here Idaho Falls has already established some groupings, but you can, let's go into the library, for example. You can add any of these benchmarks that you want to compare to for the library. So if you can add, and then we can search by functional category, or we can search by job title, or you can search just all of yours and you go search. These are all of the jobs that are not in that group already that you could add to that group. And so you could click and click save, and then it adds to that group. And go back again. By clicking on this building, it's supposed to be an office building, but if you click on this building, you can also see what other cities in our system are reporting to that benchmark. So you can see our Colorado Municipal League, they also report on libraries. You can also scroll down. We have Utah that has libraries as well. And so you can see exactly Virginia, that's across the country, but maybe that's Maybe that's your comparable market. I don't know. But you can see, are you comparing to the right group? And so that's a really useful tool. This is just an on-screen demonstration. There are better reports on this to see what they're reporting. So I'm not going to go there. You can also, yeah. So you can have unlimited of these filters. So if you want to buy department, by position, anything like that, you can create as many of these as you want. Okay, by creating a new group. I'm going to go now into the entity group. So similar to jobs, these are now entities. And so you can see, okay, 500 miles market. Let's go to that one. And so they have added any agency, I'm guessing that's within 500 miles of Idaho Falls. Why would you want to do that? Well, maybe you're trying to attract employees within that 500 miles. Maybe they're willing to commute 500 miles. I'm personally not, but maybe this is their regional market. And so they can look in here. And so you can see, okay, American Fork is actually right next to me. And you can see what jobs they're comparing to just based on this information. Okay. The thing that I love about this, not only you have contact information but about these entities, but if you scroll down to the bottom of this, you can email this whole group all at once by clicking copy and then paste that into your email system and send out a blast email to everybody. Hey, I'm working on a survey for librarians within 500 miles. Can you get me this information? Or can you go into the system and update your information? So that's super helpful. Okay. And so once you set up those groupings, now this is our report section. We have 3 categories of reports: salary or wage information, we have benefits or other reports, and then we have some miscellaneous reports. So I'm going to run a full-time report, and I'm going to, let's see, where's the chat? Darren, I saw that you were on. Can you give us a sample report that you would like to know, what type of benchmarks or what kind of entities that you look at that we can run a report for you?
Well, I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but I don't know, just grab any position. I think that one of the things that would be nice to have more of the Idaho data in here so we could pull that, but there's really not much Idaho data in here at the moment.
Okay, so maybe let's use Utah cities just to kind of show off the power that could be, right? So let's run the Utah market, and which benchmark or which group of these do you want to look at? Anybody can throw anything out. Is there one that's a needs to fill right now?
Let's
Let's
look
look
at
at
wastewater.
Wastewater, okay. Do we have a group already there?
wastewater is probably going to be in public works if it's not its own category.
Okay, we can do public works, okay? So let's do that. So let's run this report. And so this is an online version, but you can see by benchmark or job, you can see all the reporting agencies. You can see how, and these columns with the range information. So the min, the mid, the max of that range, and also the actual, if these cities are reporting, okay? Some of these aren't, but you can see that Layton has their actual engineer is making $54.98 an hour, okay? And that's within their range. Looks like it's towards the bottom of their range. So you have everything from your group there. You can change how you sort these cities, whether it's by range, whether it's by actual data or average data. I like at the bottom also you have some stats here. So the average minimum range is 51.67. Idaho Falls range starts at 49.98. So they're $1.67 low, about 3.25% low. And their actual data is they're even lower. So this to me may be an indication that they're below market of where they need to be to compete with these other cities, right? I can also run this report Excel download. So let's run the same report. And I'm going to open this. And please confirm that you can see the Excel spreadsheet when it opens. Can everybody see this?
I can see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So now we have each line is a benchmark for each city. And so you can do some additional analysis here. But this goes clear down, let's see, different jobs, different cities. What I like to do here is actually create a pivot table of the data that was just exported. And let's have a row by benchmark. And then let's look at actual average. Make sure that's a sum or an average, not a sum. And so you can see an average pay for each of these benchmarks. Or if you want to now create a filter and say, okay, let's filter by entities, and how would these change if we excluded, let's see, I saw one in here. If we excluded, let's see, St. George, is that down at the bottom of Utah? So that's farther away, we think. If we took them out, how would that change the data, right? You have additional analysis tools in Excel rather than just online. So those are where we go from export to, or from the system to the export, okay? I'm gonna go back in the system and show you a few other things. Let me kind of clean up my screen here. Okay, so we can run the same report on part-time data or temporary seasonal positions. You can run similar reports for elected officials. So all the elected officials in the Idaho market, or I saw a different one, local Idaho group. So Bonneville, some counties, auditors. So you can see there's not as much data here. One of our biggest challenge, flat out, I'll be totally transparent, is how to get the flywheel started, right? When everybody participates, it works beautifully. But if we only have ones and twos here and there, it's not as powerful. And so what we're trying to pitch this is as, this is really useful. Let's get everybody on board. And hopefully we've done it at affordable pricing that it's an incentive to join, okay? But you can see this whole group, any of these elected officials. I'm gonna close that one. This My Benchmarks download report is actually an export of all your system information, okay? So this is gonna load in Excel, and this has each job that you're recording, so by benchmark, and then all of those fields that were in the system go across to the right. So any benefit category, if there's FLSA exempt, the effective date, the steps, the hours they work. This report is one of the ways that we can update all of your system data all at once. If you edit this report, send it back to us, we can upload this in a heartbeat, and you'll update all of these benchmarks all at once rather than onesie twosies at a time. So you have part-time, temporary, last updated, so you can see these were loaded last week, okay? Any notes or comments, and all of these information. So if I were to enter these by hand, it would take me hours or weeks. But with a running report like this, and maybe tying in information or pulling in information from your payroll system or your HRIS system, we can update this pretty quickly. Okay, so this is just Idaho Falls data at this point. Going back to other reports, we can run reports on benefits or practices. So let's look at the online, let's look at local Idaho group, and let's look at the education assistance. So actually we might have to change the group here. I want to show off a little bit. So let's change the group and let's do Utah cities. Let's change to public safety. And so you can see bilingual pay practices, what all these other cities, and if they have a policy, what their policy is. Okay, but how is this useful as an HR manager? You can, if someone's asking a question, well, what other cities are doing, right? How many of you have heard that question? Well, let's go look at what other cities are doing. And it takes just a couple minutes to pull this information. If you have officers saying, well, so-and-so gets more callback money, right? We can go into the system and look at it if they're in the system, right? Certifications and licensure pay. It makes comparables so much easier at just having one central location rather than sending out spreadsheets or emails or Google Docs or whatever it is. Okay, so that's allowances and practices. We can do the same for entity profiles. We can compare entities. So let's do Idaho cities all here. So we just have Idaho Falls right now, but if we did something like all of Utah, then we have all the information. We can export this as well, but you can compare budget size, you can compare FTEs, you can find a lot of information there. You can look at service profiles, you can look at premiums. So let's look online and let's choose dental premiums this time. And let's do 500 miles market. And then let's do dental. We're going to be really specific on the dental premiums for the fire category of jobs. So it runs a report and you can see what premiums are, what the total premium, how much the employer is paying. And so if I'm American Fork, I'm thinking I'm really great. I pay for all my coverage, right? And so you can see how we compare and contrast, or how you compare and contrast to these other cities by premium category. And you can also see updated category. So if I'm comparing to Cedar City, this isn't good data. This is 10, 15 years old. So then you can ask us to nag them, or you can nag them yourself, contact Cedar City, say, hey, I'm doing a comparison. Is this still accurate? Chances are it's not, and they can go and update that information, and it's updated live. You don't have to wait a week if they're on top of it. So everything is about system, information is power, right? You can look at benefit summary. So these are more descriptions. And you can see, okay, what type of benefits they have, plans, providers, etc. Closing back. Benchmark benefits refers to the benefits tied to specific benchmarks. That was a category of salary data screens. And there's a narrative as well. Oh, let's take a look at this leave or PTO. None of your employees ever complain about PTO, right? Never happens. So let's look at how many holidays everybody celebrates. And let's do Utah police targets. So we're going to go to police and sheriff. And so of these group, they celebrate 13 days, and you know which days they are. Lehigh needs to get their act together. They only celebrate 12. Okay. So again, system information, choose your options, run your reports. This miscellaneous category down here. So you can run reports on your data validation, and it will tell you all the errors that come up based on what we put in. So it looks like benchmark 2590 has no preferred title. So we can go take a look at that one. But also the benefits that look like they're outdated. So you need to go in and probably update those numbers and then rerun this report and everything would be cleaned up. So if I were a user, I'd say, okay, let's go look at benchmark 2590. I'm going to go into the data entry, salary data, look for 2590. And actually, when there's an error, this pencil is yellow, meaning there's a validation error. So no preferred title entered. So you can go into general, you can enter in a title here and save that. Or you can go in and click override and save that, and that would also dismiss that message. Okay. So that's the data validation report. I'm going to go back to reports. The other thing that's really cool here is we have a report of all the job descriptions in the system. So let's go by category. These are just brief job descriptions, just a summaries to kind of compare to. But on here, I like to do a search and find. The other day we had a fishery, someone that has a local fishery. So I can search by fish, and it will highlight any sample job description that has a fish word in it, okay? So a zoo director benchmark that we have could involve working with the Fish and Game Department. If I go through here, a zoo director, that makes sense. A game warden maybe has that. But maybe instead of fish, let's use fiber, okay? So skated technician, maybe use fiber. There's 34 matches. You can kind of scroll through here and see if you're looking for a match to a job, which job would be like a cable installer or a cable tech. I think we have an OSB manager. So you can kind of go through here and see which jobs you want to match to based on some kind of description. So that's super helpful. If we set up a league for you as well, we can also have league specific descriptions, meaning if your association wants to focus in on certain benchmarks, we can do that. Or we can give access to all of the system benchmarks. It doesn't matter to us. Okay, so it looks like AIC doesn't have any benchmarks right now. But anyways, I know that was a lot of information. I'm here to answer any questions. Actually, yeah, what questions do you have right now that I can answer?
Can you tell us again, just show that one screen that said how much it costs? And can you also say that that's an annual, that's what is going to be annually, right?
Yep. So there's an annual cost per agency. Yep.
And do you see that going up?
No. I mean, we recently did prices last year increase within the last 18 months. There may be minor changes here and there, but I think the structure is where it's going to be. Yeah. Great question.
And you just started, this is just kind of rolling out with the cities in Idaho currently, correct?
Correct. Yep. So we need you to commit to it, right?
Right.
Okay. Any other question about the system if we're talking about next steps? Any in the chat? I don't see any others in the chat. Kira, if you're hearing something I'm not, just let me know as well. Okay, so what are the next steps then? Where do we go from here? What we're doing is we're coordinating through AIC. So you would notify Sandra Hall, the services coordinator, that you would like to enroll and verify the number or the size of your agency for the price. Sandra would generate the invoice directly to the city, and then we'll do business with Sandra as far as collecting the group account, okay? Then she'll send instructions how to register your users. Let me go show you that real quick. I'm actually going to log off to the system, and under our home account, there's a request account under account. And so we do have a user agreement that all of the individual users need to sign, need to read through this and sign, so that we make sure we keep the data integrity. We do not sell your data to any other companies. Okay, we don't sell it to consultants. We don't do salary surveys and say, hey, take this information. We're focused on the public sector and for our subscribers, right? Not just everybody at will. So, but going back to here, back. Yeah, so you do business with AIC, you send them the payment, and then let me move this. And then once we get notified that you've paid that to AIC, then we'll set your account up and provide one-on-one user training. Okay. So those were the next steps. If you're interested, if we've got a commitment from you, if you still want to think about it and see more information, we're happy to do that. You can stay online here. You can come back tomorrow. What time is the webinar tomorrow again, Kira?
The webinar tomorrow will be 12 to 1, and I will paste the sign up link in the chat in case there's anyone that folks would like to share it with to encourage them to attend tomorrow.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay. Oh, I see a chat message here. Okay, there's Sandra's email, shall@idaho-cities.org. Be happy to help out with that. Or if you have any other questions, you can email me directly. I'll put my email in the system as well.